36 teams started the race. It's down to 4. Will it be Arsenal? Will it be Inter Milan? Will it be Paris Saint-Germain or Barcelona on the 31st of May in Munich? Who will lift the 2024-2025 UEFA Champions League trophy? Welcome to another exciting edition of Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolise. Promises to be another exciting time on set today. We have a lot to unpack. Chief among them is the UEFA Champions League. Don't forget, for Liverpool fans, they can smell that Premier League trophy. It has been a very, very interesting season, not just for them, but also for the team in Munich, Bayern Munich, who will probably give Harry Kane his first official trophy as a professional. And in the world of tennis, it is the world of Holger Rune. And out here in Saudi Arabia, McLaren continue to make a statement. Once again, if you're joining us for the very first time, this is Sports Pizza. My name is Edwin Onyebolise, and I do this in company of David. We'll go on a short break, but let me remind you that we have the Tipsters Corner. This is where we give you tips from the games that are coming out this weekend for punters. We'll go on a short break. When we return, we'll pack the box and set the ball rolling. Welcome back to the show. It is still Sports Pizza. David, it's good to have you on set.
Yeah, Edwin, pleasure to be here as always. I mean, fantastic weekend I had, but I spent it making prayers to the football gods that hopefully this is Arsenal season. I mean, entering into the month of May, I want it to happen. I want May to end on a good note for Arsenal.
And that's the UEFA Champions League, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, for those who don't know, David is an Arsenal fan, and what David means is that May should produce the UEFA Champions League for Arsenal. Yeah, for those who don't know, David is an Arsenal fan, and David is hoping that May produces the Champions League trophy for Arsenal. David, as an Arsenal fan, can you take us through the emotional roller coaster you had over 2 legs?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The league form actually made us forget a lot of what this Arsenal team is good at. A lot of what we've seen from this Arsenal the last 2 years has been consistent improvement. Biting at the edges, feels like there was a level they were still expecting to. We've seen good results over the course of the season. I mean, the Manchester City 5-1 victory, the league gave us a semblance of that. But when it came to Real Madrid, you always know it's Real Madrid. Something at the back of your mind will be telling you that you should always expect the unexpected. But over the 2 legs, we saw an Arsenal team who have finally come to the big stage and have arrived. And that kind of performance was the kind of performance you expect from this team. Real Madrid, if a different opposition, Arsenal would have still performed this similar way. You saw the foundations of this Arteta team. Madrid were the unfortunate opponents on this situation. But in any other situation, what Arsenal and Arteta, what they stand for is what we saw in those 2 legs. All right,
so you've had your moment. You've spoken as a fan. Let's get down to business. Yeah. PSG in the semi-finals over 2 legs. In the league phase, that's what it's called now. Arsenal got a 2-0 win over Paris Saint-Germain. In that moment, PSG were neither here nor there. There were all sorts going on at the club. But right now, people tip Paris Saint-Germain, pundits and whoever tip Paris Saint-Germain to win the Champions League and are slight favorites against Arsenal over 2 legs. But again, you look at Arsenal's structure defensively and how they can seize those moments in attack. I think this is a different kettle of fish for Paris Saint-Germain. Especially how Aston Villa went at them in the quarterfinals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of talk I've heard about how this PSG team is a different team from the one Arsenal faced in the group stage. But also this Arsenal team is a different one because in the group stage, I remember very clearly, Arsenal played the 4-4-2, Leandro Trossard and Kai Havertz up front, and it was a different system for PSG to handle. Now they are not playing that. They have a makeshift striker, Mikel Merino, something different. So, Declan Rice is more advanced now than it was at that point in the season. So we've seen a lot of changes. So this Arsenal team is also going to be a different kettle of fish. And you talked about the defensive solidity. It's the one thing about this Arsenal team, and I think good teams generally, what we have seen is when they are not in the game, moments where the opponent try to get into the game, they're able to maintain their structure, and that's what is very important. That's what stood Arsenal out against Real Madrid, and I think it's what is going to stand them against PSG. You mentioned the Aston Villa game. There were moments, especially the second leg, Aston Villa took the game to PSG. And PSG looked a bit lost. They lost control of that game for a long time. But with Arsenal, you watch them over games and you don't see moments where they actually lose control completely. They always have a way of maintaining their structure in games.
Talk still with Paris Saint-Germain, David. You look at their midfield, the trial of Fabian Ruiz, Vitinha, and João
Neves.
Neves, you get a feeling that midfield trial, when it comes to recycling of possession, holding possession, controlling game, there are few teams in Europe that can match them. And for Arsenal also, they tend to keep a lot of the ball, try and dictate the pace of the game. It's going to be a fascinating battle in midfield.
I think that's where the bulk of the fight is going to happen. And I think that you could see when Partey was yellow carded in the second leg against Real Madrid, you could see the Declaraz's reaction. He pushed him. I was like, you didn't need something, because Arsenal need everybody to be on deck. They need the muscle of Thomas Partey, Declan and Martin Odegaard. With Partey missing now, there's a big dilemma for Partey. How he's going to have to navigate, because it's one player missing, but it's central to how the system works.
In the other semi-final, it is Barcelona versus Inter Milan over 2 legs. The last time both teams faced was the infamous game in 2010 for Barcelona fans. For Inter Milan fans, it was a famous game where they had to do the hard way with 10 men. We saw frailties in the second leg of quarterfinal games with both teams. Inter Milan, the once impregnable defense was cut into slices at will by Bayern Munich, but it wasn't enough. For Barcelona, they lost to Borussia Dortmund, and that's air of invisibility was removed. Now, how do you see this game unfolding over 180 minutes? I
think, Inter Milan have come into 2025, they look like a different team. And I saw a stat, both teams, Barcelona and Inter Milan, have considered the same number of goals in 2025. So it tells you that Inter Milan, somehow, the defensive wheels are falling off. Even in the league, you see their league title charge is actually falling off as well. So I think for Barcelona, we know what they're about. We're not going to see all control. They are a moments team. They like to play in transition, try to, be direct with the opposition. And Inter Milan will try to soak up the pressure, because I remember the game against Arsenal in the group phase as well. They allowed Arsenal to play, and then they hit Arsenal in moments. So I think there are frailties in Inter Milan more than I've ever experienced in a long time. And I think with Barcelona, the frailties will always be there. They are ultra aggressive, high line, always give you space. And I think Bastoni is always going to be critical to how they play. That left side is going to try to create overloads in that position and help Inter Milan to attack Barcelona. All
right, so I'm going to put you on the spot right now. David, over 180 minutes, possibly 210 minutes, both games. Who makes your final?
I think I'm seeing an Arsenal and Barcelona final. I think the Arsenal PSG game is going to be Arsenal using all their nouns that they've gathered over the last 2 years under Mikel Arteta to just sit over 2 legs. And for Barcelona, I think their attacking force, Lamine Yamal, Rafinha is the best player of the Champions League this season without a doubt. Then Lewandowski as well. I think they will just have enough. They will make it a KG game, Inter Milan, because of how they want to. But I think Barcelona will just have enough firepower to overcome them.
All right, don't forget Lewandowski is out for 3 weeks or thereabouts. So that could impact Barcelona's approach. You want to take a second prediction on the Inter-Barcelona game in light of the new information?
So I think the way Barcelona is structured, I think if Ferran Torres steps in, he will just finish off the chances that will be created for him. All
right, so away from the UEFA Champions League, we have another big game this weekend. It involves Barcelona. It is the Copa del Rey final. Real Madrid versus Barcelona. They've put 9 goals past Real Madrid this season
in 2 games.
In the league and in the Super Cup final. Has much changed, David, since both sides met in the Super Cup?
I think for Barcelona, a lot has changed. They've become better, more compact, and I think they've started conceding less goals. And I think everything that was wrong with them in the first half, I'm talking of the high line and how they were exploiting it, opponents were exploiting it. I don't think they've allowed opponents that much joy with that high line. And for Real Madrid, they've become even worse. I think Mbappe was the problem they had at that point. He has not gelled. They are gelled now, then the rest of the team seems to be falling apart. And I think injuries have not helped. Valverde is playing in different positions, Tchouaméni playing at left. It's all over the place. And I think for me, Barcelona are heading into this one even stronger and more confident at this point.
So you're not looking beyond the Barcelona win?
Yeah,
a Barcelona treble this season? You said Arsenal, Barcelona in the final. So Arsenal to win the Champions League?
I think so. As a fan, and also just looking at what will happen in the final in a one-off game.
But definitely Barcelona will get the Copa del Rey.
Yeah, they will get the Copa del Rey.
Okay, before we go on our first break, in Germany the Bundesliga is all but done. Bayern Munich will win the Bundesliga title, getting it back from the claws of Bayer Leverkusen. For Harry Kane, for those who don't know, I'm a huge Harry Kane fan.
Who is that?
It is, I wouldn't say vindication, but what's the word now? It's the completion of a cycle
Yeah.
for a career that has been ridiculed because he hasn't won a title. You look at his resume, he's won Golden Boots, he's won Player of the Years, he's won all sorts, but he hasn't won that team trophy. And he's been compared with everybody that is not supposed to be compared with. But finally, he's going to get his hands on that elusive trophy.
Yeah, I think for me, just for the prestige and actually doing it. But it doesn't take away from the fact that Kane is still the player that he is. He has not done anything much different from the Kane we saw at Tottenham. It's just not been an environment to win. I mean, he led them to a Champions League for Spurs. I mean, so it tells you how much he was, performing. And this season and last season it was unfortunate for him, but this season he has picked up from where he left. So it seems like this. What I just like about him is that he seems to be trying to, add his own input. And maybe you may have accused him of games where he needed to turn up, he didn't turn up. But this season is actually trying his best to help them to sit over the line. There were games where they've struggled. This is but the legal title that has not been imperious. You can say because Leverkusen have not been at the standards that they set last season. So Bayern Munich have been able to stroll to a title.
And for Harry Kane, he set the Bundesliga record, the fastest player to get 60 goals. He did it in just 60 games. David, guess whose record he beat?
I mean, there are no prizes for guessing. There's only one man, Erling Haaland.
Erling Haaland, 60 goals in 65 games. At this point, we'll go on a short break. Don't change the channel. And when we return, it's all about the Saudi Arabia Grand Prix. And don't forget the game in Barcelona where Holger Rune defeated home favorite Carlos Alcaraz. We'll be back. Welcome back to the second half of the show. If you're joining us for the very first time, this is Sports Pizza. It's a sports show where we give you the very best analysis, information, education, and a bit of entertainment. This time we're heading straight to Saudi Arabia, and Oscar Piastri's third win of the season in 5 races has put him as the ultimate Mark David. McLaren are showing that they have 2 of the best drivers on the grid.
Yeah, I mean, it was never in doubt. But I think for Piastri, I think this season is a fantastic season for him. I think he's sending a message to the McLaren team that I can also be. This is not a one-man show. I'm not a co-driver. I'm not a backup driver. I'm also a co-challenger for the title. And I think it's fantastic. For Lando Norris, I mean, I think probably something mentally is wrong with him. He's not able to, those mistakes are becoming too much. You see your teammates, who is able to, do something like this, and then you are also, this is the second week where he had a penalty. I mean, he needs to actually, and he gave an interview over the course of, before the race, and he talked about how he's struggling. The struggles are, it's not the car, he's talking about him adjusting to the car. So it means there's something he needs to work on for himself. For Max Verstappen, he will keep fighting. He will know the fighter he is. But he's got
a 5-second penalty. He was angry, was livid, but the rules are the rules.
The rules are the rules. Yeah. I mean, but I think for him, he will keep fighting. He's been dealt a difficult hand. He doesn't have a proper teammate to challenge with. I mean, I'm looking at Red Bull changing a second backup driver at this point in the season again, because even Yuki Tsunoda, who was brought in as well, is struggling to match up. So it's a one-man show for Red Bull. For the Ferrari guys, finally Ferrari's first podium of the season, but it was not Lewis Hamilton. For those who are wondering, he's still managing his 7th position. Hopefully this season will be a consolidation season for him. I'm not expecting too much from him, but next season hopefully he will find it better. And
from there we head straight to Barcelona, the Barcelona Open final, where Holger Rune stunned home favorite Carlos Alcaraz, ended in straight set. David, quite surprising, 7-6, 6-2.
I mean, for Carlos Alcaraz, at his young age of 21, he's becoming too used to the headline of Carlos Alcaraz stunned. He's becoming stunned too many times because a lot is expected from him and he's not delivering when it really matters the most. There's more that this young man can offer. We know the talent is there, but it just seems like something mentally is not keyed in, is not locked in to deliver these performances. So Garune, not taking anything away from me, he's a fantastic player as well. He's somebody who is tipped for the future as well. He has a bright future. But I think for Alcaraz, the onus is left on him to deliver the levels. Does he want to be a great, or does he want to be one of the also-rans in the sport?
For Holger Rune, his first ATP title in 2 years and his biggest since the Paris Masters in 2022. From there, David will head straight to the NBA. The conference playoffs are currently on, the East and the West. Let's do this quickly. Who are your finalists for the NBA Finals?
I mean, in the East, there's no gainsaying the two strongest teams in this right now. We saw Cleveland Cavaliers, take everybody by surprise, and they've shown that they are here for the taking this season. And also the defending champions. We can't look beyond Boston Celtics. It seems like at some point in the regular season, they blew everybody up, and then they just said that they were keeping their best for the they want to defend their title this season. It's a fantastic one for them. So those two teams for me on the East look like the strongest.
So who gets to the final?
I think it's Boston Celtics. I think that experience that they have will be enough to see them over the line.
In the West?
The West, you can't look beyond OKC Thunders and Shai Gilgeous Alexander. He's leading a pack of young guys. Last season looked like a fluke. It looked like the inexperience affected them. They couldn't get all the way to, but I think this year they are going to go all the way to the finals.
David didn't give other teams a chance. Golden State Warriors,
there's a lot of the
Denver Nuggets, the Timberwolves.
Yeah,
just went straight to the OKC Thunders. Let's get back home. David, quick one from the MPFL. Remo Stars got a huge win in Ibadan against Shooting Stars. It's 7 points between them and Rivers United. I think the title is done and dusted. Absolutely. But the surprise of the team of the season, in my opinion, is Ikorodu City, currently third on the table. Even if they miss the continental ticket at the end of the season, it has been a remarkable campaign for this side.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the numbers behind what they are doing this is really remarkable. They've scored the most goals in the MPFL for a team that just got promoted. You look at the constitution of that squad. I don't think they have any player in that squad
52 goals scored
this season. They don't have a player who has tasted MPFL at this level. So I think it's really remarkable that their coach is relatively experienced at this level. But they just found a way to play carefree and just be very adventurous and just play the football that matters. One thing that's fundamental for me that I like that they do is they go away from home and they don't have all the stigma of you can't win away from home in the MPFL. They go to even the most difficult of grounds and then they get results, which is fantastic for them.
All right, fantastic for Ikorodu City and also good advertisement for the MPFL. We'll go on a short break. We'll give you our video for the week. When we return, it's the Tipsters Corner. Welcome back. I'm sure you enjoyed that back and forth between Hogaruna and Carlos Alcaraz. David, do you stand a chance against any of these guys?
Absolutely. Tennis is not my sport. Football is my sport. So yes.
All right, let's go to the Tipsters Corner, and we have 3 games this weekend.
Yeah. So firstly, we have Inter Milan versus Roma at the San Siro. I mean, for all that match entails for both teams, for Roma, they've been in a very good run of form. And for Inter Milan, I mean, their title race is on the line. But I think goals market, one of the best options to look at this point in time. I think both teams will score looks very good. Inter Milan score, but they will also give you goals at this point in time, which is very surprising. But hey, for the market, we're looking at the goals. Over 1.5 goals also looks very solid. Inter Milan, in their last 5 games, I think only once they have not provided over 1.5 goals. So it looks very solid in this one. And for the results market, anybody win. I don't see a draw. I think Roma would want to dampen Inter Milan's title chance. Inter Milan want to put some life into it, so anybody win in this one.
And also don't forget that Inter Milan have a crucial game in the Champions League, so you expect changes in the starting lineup. In England, David, what do you have for us?
Yes, Liverpool and Tottenham. I looked at that game because of the goals market. The number of goals that match produces is very remarkable. I think for me, over 2.5 goals looks very good. Liverpool they are already champions, and Tottenham are free givers. So I think at this point in time, over 2.5 goals looks very good. Both teams to score looks very good as well. I think Liverpool will give you goals. Tottenham as well will give you goals. And for the results market, I think Tottenham are out of the Premier League. They've locked shop on the Premier League. They're in the same situation as Manchester United. Sorry to say.
It's the
Europa League that is the objective at this point in time. So I think Liverpool will do enough to just to see their title procession. So a victory for Liverpool in this one. It looks very good as well. And finally, in Germany, we have the top 4 battle. Top 4 playoff is what we have in Germany. Everybody seems like they are playing for the top 4. There's Eintracht Frankfurt versus Leipzig this week. I don't know what to think about that game.
I expect goals in this one. It's going to be open. Frankfurt score and they concede. It was surprising how they didn't score against Spurs in the Europa League. For RB Leipzig, they had a change in manager, and it sort of gave them a boost to finish in the top 4. Remember that Germany only have 4 slots against 5 like they did last season. So I'm expecting goals in this one. Both teams to score over 1.5 in this particular encounter. I might slightly go for the big odds, and that is Leipzig to win away from home. If you're scared, you can go for Leipzig to win either half. But hey, expect goals in this encounter. And that is the much we can give you on the show. They say time waits for no man when you're having fun. We're having fun right here, and I'm sure you had so much fun with us. We'll be back same time next week, David. Always a pleasure having you in the studio.
Yeah, the pleasure is always all mine. From Abi David is goodbye.
And remember to follow us on our social media platforms. The handles are showing on your screen. From me, Edwin Onyeboli, say have a sporting weekend. See you same time next week. Adios.